Hello everyone, welcome to Indian Masterminds. This is Pallavi, and I am here with an exclusive interview of an IPS officer who seriously doesn't need any introduction. In 20 years of her service, she has created a unique identity for herself and became inspiration for many. Apart from being a no nonsense cop who stands firm with right, Miss D. Rupa Mudgil also has a soulful voice. We'll learn about some interesting aspect of her life. So let's welcome her. Hi ma'am. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. It's always a great pleasure to interact with you and I was looking forward to it.
Thank you.
So we'll start now. I'd like to know what it really takes to be a IPS officer, that to a female in this country.
Well, what it takes to be an IPS officer, first of all, you have to, pass the UPSC exam, which is the common exam for all civil services. And that's a very competitive exam. 15 lakh people write it every year. And finally, depending on the vacancy, 500 or 1,000 people get selected, out of which IPS vacancies will be, again, very minimal. But during my time, the IPS were just 13 numbers. So first of all, what it takes to be an IPS, passing the UPSC exam. So the training for IPS officers is, it's all the same for both the genders. It's not that we are given any concession or that we do any lesser or. So there is a what is it called? Cross country for about 15 kilometers, which we run every fortnight. It is the same number of kilometers both for men as well as women IPS probationers. Then there is this route march where you have to hold the heavy rifle and walk for about 25 kilometers. That happens once in a month, and that again is the same 25 kilometers, same rifle, both have to hold and go walk, march. So basically everything is same. There is no distinction between the men and women professionals training. We are in fact told in the academy that we are officers first and women second. But in field, it's a little different. You're often reminded that you're a woman. So what it takes to remain an IPS officer as a woman, you have to be bold enough at times to speak up your mind, and also you should be, patient as well as, you should know how to just ignore certain stereotypes that work against you, because there are a lot of stereotypes working against women. On internet, you find that, for example, in a common parlance, if I have to give a common example, there are many jokes on women drivers, right? Women car drivers on internet. So similarly, in a male bastion, there are hundreds of stereotypes and behind the back jokes that women officers do not know to handle and such things. So those stereotypes is what you have to battle out many a time.
Okay.
What has been your biggest learning in the service till now?
See, biggest learning I think in life at this point of life is there's nothing finally right or wrong personality in this world. Okay, we try to be, of course, sticking. If you are a bureaucrat, if you are a police officer, sticking to rules, laws definitely matter. And if you're a human being, definitely ethics, morality do matter. You have to be on the right path. Whatever personality you have, make the most of it. For me, speaking my mind comes very naturally. So it's not something, maybe I have improved on it, but this has been my trait from the beginning. Even in my childhood, I used to speak out and point out where, there was a point of time in 8th standard when a teacher did something wrong, and I went and complained to the principal where others were hesitating. So I have been like that always, and many a time people fire from my shoulder, keeping the gun on my shoulder when they are not able to take on or speak up. So I think you have to make max use of your personality, whatever is your UPS, you should find that out, and yeah, you should recognize your calling. So what I'm trying to say is, you have to be on the right path. You should be ethical. There is no going away from it. But then work as per what your personality permits you to. Maximize on that.
In your service, there has been many instances where you refused to bow down and did what law asked. So, in that situation, was there any point when you felt helpless or threatened?
No, I don't feel generally threatened. And, normal threats or, verbal threats, they really don't work. But of course, I would say there are obstacles. Even when I gave a whistleblowing report on the jail irregularities in 2017, of course, there was transfer, and then there were certain notices, memos given to me to answer. But I answered all of them patiently and correctly, and I mean, they couldn't find fault with my work. So, but of course, there are obstacles. If you get memos, if you keep getting them regularly, why did you do this way, that way, and so on, anybody would feel very demoralized. When you are taking on the system, if you get victimized, anybody would get demoralized. But I don't allow myself to get bogged down. I know that whenever there is any whistleblower in the system tries to get rid of that person, because the system is always for status quo. So I know that, and I know the obstacles will be there, and still I act because these are risks. Yet I act because this is the way public servants should be. I believe they should work in a transparent manner, in a publicly accountable manner. We after all draw our salary from the public exchequer, and it is also in tune with the personality, my personality. That is how.
You are now the MD of Handicraft Development Corporation Karnataka. And as far as I know, you are an artist yourself. So how exciting this role is for you?
Actually, a lot of officers may feel that this post is not for them because it's not at all connected to police job. But I am a Kannadiga, and this is a corporation which showcases the GI the handicrafts which have got GI tag, that is geographical index tag. These are all Karnataka specific handicrafts, which you will not find elsewhere, like the sandalwood handicrafts. You don't get sandalwood elsewhere in the country much. There is, you find sandalwood mostly in our Western Ghats forests in Karnataka and a little bit in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. But Kerala, Tamil Nadu artisans are not experts in doing these handicrafts, the various idols, in sandalwood figurines and all that. So that is one GI tag. So I don't really mind showcasing our own people's skills, and I am aesthetic oriented. So I like this, and I also like interacting directly with artisans and meeting them and addressing their grievances. So I have been enjoying this actually.
Any initiative you have planned lately as an MD?
Yeah, one is to improve the sales, because after all it's a company. Mine is a company I had. So it's a company registered under Companies Act. So a company means always it is profit making oriented also. So I have to increase the sales, plug loopholes, cut costs. So we are trying to increase sales. We are targeting online market. We have done memorandum with Flipkart. Our products are now on Flipkart. They'll be soon on Amazon in a few days. And we have our own website where we do the online selling. And so this is one aspect. The other aspect is administratively, I'm trying to cut down costs. There have been some losses to the company because of certain frauds here, which took place 2-3 years ago. We are trying to, there is a case registered and we are trying to recover the amount. So, yeah, this goes on. And about the artisans, yes, I'm trying to promote so that they don't see what is happening. Modern day in today's world, there are so many different jobs available, exciting ones, especially in the
Yes,
software
ma'am.
field.
Yes.
So what is happening is the artisans children generally who used to follow their parental profession, now they are giving up and taking on new jobs.
Yes,
So this
ma'am.
is actually deteriorating. So I'm trying to promote by giving them better price for their products, by getting them by some welfare measures like giving them houses, trying to get built houses for them, and the various existing schemes. Yeah, so the try is on.
And apart on the personal life, you are an artist, you sing so well. So anything happening on that front also?
It's of course my passion. It is used to be a hobby and it remains a hobby. I can't give so much importance to it that it takes over my profession and
Yes,
professional life. So that is there aside, but wherever possible, I try to.
Since 8th March was International Women's Day, so I would like to know what women empowerment really mean to you.
Yeah, basically empowerment in my view is uh, whether a woman has freedom to decide for herself. That is
Definitely.
basic minimum. See, for example, what is happening in many households, the housewives just don't they're not at all there in decision making process. Everything is thopod on them, enforced on them by the by the men of the household. So even when it matters to, let us say, what she wants to do, or what like maybe what she wants to buy, or which school she wants to send the children to, such decisions are often um, she is left out of the decision. She's not even taken as a participant in that decision making process. So wherever a woman is concerned about her own life and about certain aspects of her life, about her family members and so on, if she is able to take decision on her own, that is basically empowerment. But for that, many a time, what happens at times, until and unless you earn your own livelihood or you stand on your own feet, many times it's not possible to take decisions. They're often neglected. But wherever, even if she's homemaker, if she's involved in decision, that is empowerment. But if she's not, then I feel economic um, independence is the basis of all other independence. All other independence. To be independent or not to be too dependent on others, women should use their skills with whatever they're endowed with, improve on it, and moreover, idle's mind is devil's workshop. So better use whatever time is left over for use. Maybe you make use of your hobby only, but use it in a way that would make you economically independent, or would give you exposure to the world outside to know what is happening, how the society is moving forward, and what progress is being made, and for them to be part of this progress, not just mute spectators but active participants in the progress of the society, of the nation, and to contribute actively. I think that is final meaning of empowerment. But if the
Empowerment.
basic thing that if power to make her own decisions is given to her, that is also basic empowerment. Yeah.
So, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. This was really a great session, and I hope our viewers enjoyed each part of it.
Thank you.
So, this was D. Rupa Mudgil with us. And if you like this video, please stay tuned with our channel and like our page. We'll come soon with another IPS and IS officer. Thank you so much.